Hey everybody, welcome to the Monday Mindset. I am Erin Hart, and okay, I am shooting this video again because it was not working last time. I did like half the video and then I realized it wasn't recording. So, anyway, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the Monday Mindset, where we go live each Monday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time in the Healthy Real Food Challenge Facebook group to share inspiration and tips to help you with your sugar and flour free lifestyle. If you are new around here, I am Erin Hart. I'm a registered nurse health coach, and a few years ago, I experienced a miracle in my life. I lost 125 pounds, and I went from being class 3 morbidly obese, depressed, and powerless against my cravings to energetic, healthy, and confident in less than a year. And you can achieve your health goals this year too. I am so excited, you guys. Tomorrow is day 1 of the Healthy Real Food Challenge. So if you aren't in my program yet and you haven't registered for this free challenge, you need to go and do that today, like right after this video. I'm going to put a link in the comments here so you can learn more and get your free ticket. It's going to be amazing. So, uh, this is so important to me because I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to help moms over 40 and grandmas that experience that struggle with their relationship with food and their weight so that you can lose weight for the last time and get off of the dieting roller coaster for good. You're going to learn how to master your mindset, develop a winning strategy, and consistently execute your plan. So I promise this challenge is going to be life changing and will give you some rocket fuel to propel you toward your health goals so you can lose weight for the last time this year. So yeah, don't miss it. If you can't come live, no worries because replays are going to be available in this group in the Healthy Real Food Challenge Facebook group, but only until Sunday night. So I can't wait to see you there. If you show up live, we have like thousands of dollars worth of prizes, and it's just such an amazing experience to be immersed in live, interactive when you just get rid of all the distractions. You show up with a notebook and a paper and you take notes and you interact in the chat. Like that's what's really going to help you to get the most out of it. So I can't wait to see you there. Today for Monday Mindset, I want to dive deep into the science of food addiction. This is what changed everything for me, my friend. So, understanding this helped me to overcome a lifelong battle with my relationship with food, and it helped me to lose 125 pounds and be able to live for the past 2.5 years in maintenance. And so, it's really crazy to think that the diet industry is a $76 billion industry, and over 70% of our population in the United States and about 2 billion people worldwide are overweight or obese. About half of those people are actively trying to lose weight. So, what has caused this obesity pandemic? Um, Obesity, it's a really dangerous disease. 63% of people in our society are suffering from preventable diet related diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and some cancers. And they're dying too young because of what they're eating. It is a tragedy, truly. In my career as a nurse, I worked in the hospital for 15 years. And when I worked with adults on the surgical floor, it was so heartbreaking to see so many lives cut short, to see limbs amputated, blindness, lack of mobility, kidney and liver problems, heart attack, stroke, as a result from eating too much processed and unhealthy foods. And I'm not gonna lie, like it's ugly. It's an ugly consequence. It is not something that you want to have to deal with. And the good news is that it's preventable. But I also get it, right? I know all too well why people struggle because I was a nurse for heaven's sake and I was 284 pounds. I experienced food addiction myself. So I know from firsthand experience why people struggle with this and don't change their diet, even when diagnosed with these diseases and their lives literally depend on them changing their diet. I know that pain and the struggle. And What I hope you get from today's Monday Mindset, if you're currently feeling powerless against your cravings and that insatiable appetite and you're struggling with your relationship with food in your body, what I hope that you get from this is hope, because there's good news. There is a solution. But before we talk about that solution, we really have to better understand the problem. Like, why is this happening to us? Why are so many of us struggling with this issue? And the answer is that our brains have been hijacked. Our food supply over the last 50 years has dramatically changed. In the grocery stores, most of the stuff there is like just processed food. In some places in the country, there really are food deserts where fresh produce is really hard to find. There are fast food restaurants everywhere that contain ingredients that are designed to make them crave worthy so that we buy more of them, right? So much of our food is this manufactured food that's full of preservatives and artificial colors and flavors and ingredients that we can't pronounce, instead of being grown from the ground the way that God makes food. And it's making us so sick as a society. Our bodies need food the way that God made it. Processed foods are foods that are unnaturally palatable because they contain sugar and flour, which makes them really fast and cheap and convenient, but it also makes those foods addictive. Now, if you're wondering if food can really be addictive, the answer is yes. A resounding yes. But this was news to me too. I didn't know this a few years ago. But understanding the science of food addiction and adopting a sugar and flour free lifestyle is what allowed me to be able to lose 125 pounds and find peace with food in my body, right? And freedom from cravings, as well as tens of thousands of other people who have changed their life with a sugar and flour free lifestyle. So let's talk about the science of food addiction. Our brain is really good at its job. It is designed to protect us from starvation. And when we were in caveman times, these protective measures, they kept us alive. But in today's world of abundance, where there's too much food everywhere, right? It's not so helpful. But still, our brains actively are blocking us from losing weight, actively blocking us. There are a few ways that our brains do this. So, and we're going to talk about those today in this video. Have you ever felt like a really strong craving for a certain type of food, and you drove across town to go get it, or you went to certain lengths to go get it, right? So like other substance addictions, when we eat food that has sugar and flour, processed foods, the pleasure center of our brain lights up. And they can see this really clearly on brain scans. Researchers have discovered that the brains of obese people on an MRI are very similar to the brains of people addicted to other addictive substances. So deep in our brain is a part of the brain called the nucleus accumbens. And this is the reward center of your brain, the dopamine reward center, or in other words, the pleasure center of your brain. And when it comes to our food, it is stimulated. When we eat something that's really sweet or delicious, our brains release the neurotransmitter dopamine, and that's what causes us to feel pleasure when we eat. So the problem is dopamine downregulation. So in today's food culture, all of these highly processed foods that we have everywhere all around us, that are overly sweet and unnaturally palatable, they are too sweet and palatable. And what happens is our brain releases a flood of dopamine, a flood of that neurotransmitter that makes us feel pleasure. And it's way more than our brains can handle with the amount of receptors that we have. So our brain recognizes that we have too much stimulation and dopamine. And what happens is that our brains compensate by taking away some of the receptors and making them less responsive. And this is called dopamine downregulation. So it thins out the dopamine receptors in your brain. It's a really big problem because the less dopamine receptors that we have, the more dopamine that we need to just feel a normal amount of pleasure. So our brains require more and more stimulation and crave more and more of those sugary foods, right? Like the highly palatable processed food. So this is the science of cravings and food and addiction. And this is why we crave all of these processed foods and other, and why people who do drugs or something, why they crave, right? It's because of dopamine downregulation. And food, especially like so so sugar and flour are literally drugs. They are literally drugs. When you think of drugs like cocaine and heroin, where do they come from, right? They're plants. They come from natural sources like poppy seeds and coca leaves. And if you eat poppy seeds and coca leaves on their own, they are not addictive. Okay, but what happens is when you take the inner essence of the plant and you extract it and refine it and you purify it down into like a fine white powder, that's when it turns into a drug. And that's exactly the same process that we use to make sugar and flour. Processed food is addictive for some people. And I say some people because we all have different susceptibility to food addiction. Just like some people can moderate alcohol while others have a tendency to abuse it and it can ruin their lives, right? And they become addictive. So there are some people that are more susceptible to food addiction than others. But the truth is that processed foods can be addictive to people just like other addictive substances, and it can have devastating, life threatening consequences. So some people's lives are shortened by decades. You guys, decades, decades of your life. So, because of their diet and relationship with food, because of the consequences of obesity and other diet related diseases. So, sugar, especially, has been found to be highly addictive. Um, and that, like, it feels really good in the moment, right? But that feeling soon fades, and those overpowering cravings for more begin. And then we want more and more and more. And we have all the food thoughts and food chatter and so what we want to do is to heal our brains, right? To help us. So when we say that sugar is addictive or that it's a drug, it's not a metaphor. It's a scientific fact. So another way that our brains block us from losing weight, aside from dopamine downregulation, is because of leptin resistance. Okay, so moving on to a different area of food addiction and the science behind it. Have you ever eaten like a full meal and then you like go to the fridge and you look for more food and you just ate a full meal, right? You have that. Have you ever had that experience, that like insatiable hunger where you just don't feel satisfied and you're mindlessly eating even though you're not really physically hungry? So in the mid 1990s, scientists they discovered a hormone that's called leptin. Leptin is the hormone that makes us feel full. And it's the hormone that tells your brain that it's not hungry anymore and that your body wants to move. This is a really important hormone if you're trying to lose weight or maintain a healthy weight, right? Because when our leptin hormone is on board, we feel satiated and we have a desire to be active. But in the past 10 or 20 years, scientists discovered a phenomenon called leptin resistance. So they discovered that insulin, the hormone that helps to regulate high blood sugar, it blocks leptin. And what happens when we eat sugar and flour and those really highly refined and processed foods is that it spikes our blood sugar levels. And when things are processed into a fine powder, they're absorbed really quickly into our bloodstream and they cause a spike in our blood sugar. So our body responds by releasing massive amounts of insulin to help to decrease the blood glucose, and it results in crashes in your blood sugar. And it feels terrible, right? Like, have you ever experienced that crash after a sugar binge? So, the problem is that all of that insulin that was released, it blocks leptin, which is the hormone that makes you feel full and want to move. Leptin resistance is also caused by high triglycerides and overall systemic inflammation. So, when your leptin is blocked, your brain can't see it and you never feel full. And the result of leptin resistance is that it creates this insatiable hunger that makes you want to eat mindlessly all of the time, even when you aren't hungry. And our bodies store that extra energy as in our fat cells. But the good news is that when you take sugar and flour out of your diet, you're able to stabilize your blood sugar levels, and all three come down. Your blood insulin comes down, your triglycerides, and systemic inflammation. And then your brain can heal and it can see your leptin again. And you just when your leptin comes back on board, you just generally have this feeling of satisfaction, of satiation, and you start to want to move. It is incredible to experience this. If you're a person that has struggled with your relationship with food for all of your life, like I have, like I experienced this when I gave up sugar and flour. And it was crazy. After a lifetime of living on the dieting roller coaster, it was so beautiful to feel in control again. So, losing weight and not feeling hungry um, is what happens when our leptin comes back on board. And to me, is this science is really the magic of a sugar and flour free lifestyle. It feels like magic, but it's not. It's science, and it is so fascinating. So you really can experience freedom from cravings, and you can find peace with your food and your body and lose weight in a healthy and sustainable way by eliminating those highly processed foods from your diet. So now, like I said, not everyone needs to completely abstain from sugar and flour. Some people are more susceptible than others. But if you have ever felt out of control around food, if you find yourself eating when you're not hungry, or if you find yourself eating even when you don't want to be eating, when you know that it's harming you and destroying your health and shortening your life, and you know this, but you can't stop, that is addiction. And you are a person that experiences food addiction, right? So when I first learned about food addiction, it didn't resonate with me. I was resistant to that term. And I still don't say like I am a food addict, because I think I am statements are really powerful. And my in experiencing food addiction, it doesn't define me. But but I never thought about my issues with food that way. I just thought that I had a problem with overeating. I was a compulsive overeater, and I'd binge every night on food out of habit and to deal with emotions, right? But it wasn't until my first week of going sugar and flour free that I realized that I truly am a person that experiences food addiction, because I experienced the physical signs of withdrawal when I gave it up. In the hospital, I've cared for many patients that were detoxing from drugs, alcohol, nicotine, and other addictive substances. And it's miserable to watch them go through that. I feel so bad for them. And what I experienced when I gave up sugar and flour were the same physical withdrawal symptoms. Flu-like symptoms, headaches, fatigue, exhaustion, chills, muscle and bone pain. I was so shocked when I gave up sugar and flour and experienced those same symptoms of withdrawal. I have a brain that experiences food addiction. And you may be a person that experiences food addiction as well. If you, feel powerless against your cravings or hungry all of the time. Many of us are experiencing food addiction and don't even realize it. But there is power in embracing that knowledge, because, that we experience food addiction. Because once we know the problem, then we can find a solution. We can do something about it, and there is hope. So our bodies are each made up of trillions of cells, and every single cell in our body demands food. We literally are what we eat. So, whether you experience food addiction or not, like a healthy, real food lifestyle is just the key to longevity and health. Um, but really, healthy, real food is the way that God made, uh, you know, that they, um, let me rephrase that. Healthy, real food is the way that God, in the way that God made it. It's truly the best medicine for our bodies. It can help us to heal our brains so that we have less hunger, less cravings. We feel satiated and are able to maintain a normal, healthy weight. So, when we eat a variety of colorful foods from every food group, the way that God made them in their whole form, that is ideal for our human bodies. A healthy real food lifestyle, free from sugar and flour. It helps our cells, our tissues, our organs to all function optimally because the food that we eat creates those cells, tissues, and organs. So, eating manufactured, man made, processed foods with all of the additives that we talked about, right? Um, it's like putting the wrong kind of gas in your car. And I remember one time when my mom put diesel fuel in her car once on accident, and it totally ruined the engine. It was a really expensive repair. So likewise, we need to fuel our bodies properly, and when we do, we can prevent and reverse diet-related diseases in many cases. Our bodies are so amazing, and nutrition is the key. So we all know what foods are healthy and unhealthy. And, we know that fruits and vegetables are healthy and that pizza and cupcakes are not. But why then is it so hard for us to make those healthy food choices? And that's the other way that our brains actively block us from weight loss. So in addition to dopamine downregulation, leptin resistance, our brains also block us from weight loss because of willpower depletion. So have you ever committed to your healthy meal plan, and then after a really long day of working or cleaning the house and checking emails when the kids are crying or when you're tired and emotional and you just don't even care anymore and eat whatever, you just like go ahead and eat whatever you feel like, right? Even though you committed to eat on your plan. So has anyone else done that besides me? But that is because of willpower depletion. And it's a real thing that's happening in your brain. There's an area of your brain behind the prefrontal cortex. So this is the front part of your brain that makes you human, right? Where your thoughts are controlled and stuff. So right behind that is a place called the anterior cingulate cortex, which is the part of the brain that helps us to make decisions. It helps us to organize and check off tasks. It regulates our emotions, and it also helps us to resist temptation. And I'm sure it does a lot more than that too. It's crazy. Like it's this tiny part of our brain, but it does a lot. Like you do. To me, it's like the mom of the brain, that just does so much. And before you know it, that part of your brain gets really tired because of all the stuff it's doing. This part of the brain gets fried after just 15 minutes of an intense load. And after 15 minutes of making decisions, regulating our emotions, resisting temptations, checking emails, checking off tasks, that part of the brain just kind of goes offline and it stops working. Literally, it just shuts off. So when we are in that willpower depleted state and you're trying to resist a temptation, resist the cookies that have been on the counter for days, like what happens. And there's just no way that you'll be able to resist temptation in a willpower depleted state. Even though the higher part of your brain is telling you that it's not what you want, that lower part of your brain wins that round because the part of your brain that has your goals in mind turned off. It's offline. So that's why in the Success Path coaching program, I help you to learn, like, number one, how to decrease willpower depletion by deleting, delaying, delegating, and learning to disappoint people, getting over that people pleasing. We have to protect our willpower. And the first way we do that is by decreasing the load that is depleting our willpower. Number two, we learn to replenish your willpower by creating habits and systems in your life that will replenish your willpower each day. Your willpower is like a bank, right? Like what you can take it away and you can replenish it. And so what we want to do is create habits and routines that help us to replenish our willpower daily. And thirdly, learn how to bypass willpower. So in the coaching program, we learn how to uh, bypass willpower by controlling your environment and executing habits that help you to plan and prep ahead of time, right? So this is how we win the mental game of weight loss. If you struggle with weight loss and your relationship with food, there is nothing wrong with you. You have a normal human brain and it's doing its job really well. But if you want to take your life to the next level and heal your relationship with food, restore your health, and permanently lose weight, I can help you. So, in order to achieve peace with our food and body, to lose weight for the last time and finally get off of the dieting roller coaster, we have to overcome those powerful cravings that come from the addictive center of our brain. We have to overcome the insatiable hunger that is a result of leptin resistance. And we have to learn to bypass the need for willpower. So if you aren't yet in my coaching program and haven't yet registered for the Healthy Real Food Challenge that is happening tomorrow, February 13th through the 16th, this week, be sure to get your free ticket before the spots are filled. We are diving deep into the success framework that helped me to lose weight for the last time and can help you to achieve your goal body too. So come and learn how to master your mindset, develop a winning strategy, and consistently execute your plan so that you can find peace with your food and your body. So you can experience that freedom from cravings and constant food thoughts and food chatter, and find confidence to be able to live your life to its fullest and chase your dreams. Again, the 4-day challenge is this week. We're going to be live on Zoom for about an hour and a half each day. And we have lots of fun prizes that we'll give away to those that come live and actively participate. It will change your life, and I can't wait to see you there. So I'm cheering you on, my friend. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you tomorrow at the challenge. Bye.